Well, hello, and thank you for joining me today in this first of a few presentations that we have in our series called our Lunch and Learn series. And what a better way to start it off than talking about food, especially since this is our first one, and hopefully you folks are enjoying lunch. So, what I wanted to get into as a clinical nutritionist and a sports nutritionist, I realized in our practice that nutrition is so vitally important if a person is wanting to achieve or enjoy the best performance of their life. And regarding this subject, well, I have found over the many years that we've been in practice that there are a lot of misconceptions and myths, if you will, when it comes to nutrition. So what I've decided to do is to create this program that I've entitled Common Nutrition Myths, and what we want to do is debunk them because there's no better way to gain health than to know the truth, and once knowing the truth, to act upon it. So with that, then we are going to be off. All right. Thank you again for joining me. And here we go. So, when we get into nutrition, there's so many voices out there, and they all have an effect on us. And we find ourselves perhaps in a quandary as to what to believe. When it comes to that, we want to know factually what we should be eating and how much we should be eating of each thing and how often we should be eating it. And when we're asked or when we come to those areas, we are inundated with this information, and it's oftentimes it can be not just overwhelming, but it can be downright confusing because we're constantly being bombarded with the media headlines and the advertisements about the latest trends. And these messages don't always have our health in mind, frankly. There many times they are broadcast in order to sell a product and whatnot. Um, and this is what's going on now at this point in time in our lives, especially with the environment that we find ourselves in, with the broadcasts of the news media, the internet, and all of your friends speaking to you. There's a lot of confusion now as to what you should eat or what you shouldn't eat, especially when we're being challenged by this virus and whatnot. So, and please, I will review with you the recommendations that I'm making to my patients so that they can not only maintain their health, but if they are being challenged by the virus, how they can go ahead and boost their immune system in order to overcome that challenge and regain their health. I will do that at the end of this presentation, I promise you. So, as we move on, then, one of the myths, and I haven't listed these in any particular order, but the first myth that I want to address is that all calories are created equally. They are all equal. I'm sure that many of you have heard that all calories are created equal. I'm sorry to tell you that, but no, they're not. This is because the body actually uses and stores calories differently. And it depends on the nutrients that you're getting from the foods that you're eating. And in order for your body to understand why calories are different, it's going to be dependent upon the type of food that you eat and the use of each of those and how your body is going to handle them. So again, not all calories are created equal. So we look at these calories now that are in food. Now, you may have heard that foods are being described in terms of their density, their caloric density. I know oftentimes when I'm speaking to our patients, that's the verbiage that I use. And what I'm referring to is to the different nutrients that have more or fewer calories packed into the same weight. And that makes them more nutritionally dense. Now, calories in food are basically grouped into three categories. There's the fats. Well, I'm sorry, there's four actually. There's the fats, there's the alcohol, the carbohydrates, and the proteins. And if you look at the nutrition labels in the US, they use basically the rules of thumb. And they are that 1 gram of fat If you take a gram, that all of these food groups or these, yes, the food groups are going to be they're going to be measured in grams. So 1 gram of fat has or possesses 9 calories. So if for every gram of fat you eat, you're getting 9 calories. For every gram of alcohol that you ingest, you're getting basically 7 calories. For every gram of protein that you eat, regardless of the type of protein it is, you're getting 4 calories. If you eat a gram of carbohydrates, now those are the sugars and the starches. We're going to talk about those as we move on, but you get about 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. And then also, and I said that there were 4, but here's another one that I can add now that I think about it. It's a gram of fiber. And a gram of fiber, it's been estimated, gives about 1.5 calories per gram of fiber. Now, fiber, I want you to know, is classified as a carbohydrate, but there are types of the fibers are broken down to a soluble fiber. That's a fiber that can be broken down by the body in its digestive process, and there's an insoluble fiber. That's one that's not easily digested by the body. So this is why if you're eating 300 calories of chicken, it's not the same thing as eating 300 calories of cake. So cake would be the carbohydrate, right? And remember, for a gram of carbohydrate, you're going to get 4 calories. For a gram of protein, which would be the chicken, you're going to get you're going to get 4 calories as well. So when you multiply that, you can see that for each gram, you're going to be getting a different amount of caloric intake. All right. So now myth number 2, the carbs that you eat make you fat. That's a myth. I'm sure most of you have heard that one. In fact, many popular diets that are out there are based on this myth that carbs make you fat. They do not make you fat. In reality, carbs aren't the enemy, but there are different types of carbs that you should be aware of. See, because there's the simple ones and there's the complex ones. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a closer look at the carbohydrates so that you can learn how to distinguish then the good from the bad. So first, what we have to do is understand what are carbs. What are the carbs? Those are carbohydrates. They're one of the 3 macronutrients, okay? The 3 groups, if you will, also known as macronutrients. And those are the carbs or the carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins. So those are the 3, the carbs, the fats, and the proteins. And the primary function of macronutrients is to provide your body with energy. Okay, so now we're going to go back of the 3, we're going to focus on the carbs now, on the carbohydrates. Dietary carbohydrates can be split now, as we look at that, into 3 subgroups or 3 subcategories. Of the carbohydrates, you have sugars, and those are the sweet, that's anything that's sweet. You find it in the foods, and if you read your label and you see a word that ends in ose, O-S-E, whether it be glucose, fructose, galactose, maltose, sucrose, those are all sugars. And those are the very short chain carbohydrates. Those are what are called, those are the short chain carbohydrates. Those are very, very cheap carbs, if you will. Then another category of carbohydrates are the starches. Now these are a longer chain of glucose molecules. See, you have a real short chain, that's the sugars. Then you get a little bit longer chain, and those are the starches. Those have to be broken down into the simpler sugars when you eat them, when your body is digesting them. Then the third category of the carbohydrates we talked about a few moments ago, those are the fibers. And humans, basically, you and I can't digest fiber. That's why it's so good for the diet, because when you're eating fiber in your food, It's absorbing water, and it's helping the undigested or the waste materials in the bowels move through the bowels with greater ease, much more efficiency, and much more quickly. And it helps to keep you from getting constipated, from keeping that stuff inside of you. Now, the problems with the carbs is that when they're consumed, uh, many of our foods today and our diets or the eating habits, we consume too many carbohydrates. And then the body, when you have too many of them, the body's going to turn the carbohydrates into fat. It's going to convert it, whatever the body doesn't use as energy, it's going to turn it into fat, and it's going to store it in your body later on as an energy reserve. So if you see, the carbohydrates in and of themselves don't make you fat, it's the overwhelming amount of carbohydrates that people are eating that's making them fat, because they're ingesting too many carbohydrates, which are used as energy, but then they live a sedentary lifestyle. And because of that, the body isn't requiring much fuel to be burned as energy. So all that excess that the people have eaten, the body just takes it up and it stores it as fat. And of course, they gain weight that way. See? So let's get back to this statement that I made a few moments ago, that not all carbs are created equal. Now, carbs are often referred to, as I alluded to a few moments ago, they're either simple or complex. You have simple carbohydrates or you have complex carbohydrates, and some people talk about whole carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates, okay? Now, when we talk about whole carbs, those are generally considered healthy because they're the unprocessed foods that you're eating. Those are foods that you're eating that were made the way the good Lord made them. They haven't been changed by man at all. And those unprocessed carbs, those whole carbs, they contain the fiber that are found naturally in the food. See, those include the vegetables that you eat, the whole fruits that you eat, and those food sources of carbohydrates are really typically loaded with a lot of nutrients. See, because they are whole foods, nothing has been altered or changed in them. Those are the whole carbs. The refined carbs, now listen, the word refined, on the other hand, those include the sugar-sweetened beverages, see, the fruit juices, the pastries, the white bread, the white pasta, the white rice, and all of those types of things. These carbs are very high in simple sugars because the fiber has been removed. And when you're eating those types of foods, which unfortunately most people are found doing, they're associated with the health problems like obesity and type 2 diabetes in particular. Now, additionally, refined carbohydrate foods, basically they're generally lacking in all of the essential nutrients. You know, those nutrients that you get through a whole food, well, they've been washed out. A very good example is white bread. You know, you read the label. I don't know, some of you may not remember, there was a product out, it was called Wonder Bread. And it was fortified and it was enriched with, you know, and they fortified it with vitamin A and D and this and that. Your milks or your dairy products are like this as well. And they enrich them with vitamins, all these different vitamins. And what they're doing is they have bleached or washed out or refined these carbohydrates so much so that they're basically empty. So now to give them any kind of value at all, they enrich them or they fortify them through that chemical process, through these artificially made vitamins and nutrients, and put it back into the food so that it has some kind of value when you eat it. But they're basically a very simple carbohydrate. They're loaded with sugars. They're devoid of any fibers, and whatever the body doesn't utilize, when you eat them, then it's going to take that and it's going to store it as fat. Okay. So with that, I want to talk to you now about the good versus the bad, because just in case you're still unclear on which carbs are good for you and which are not, I'll give you a simple list here that you can remember. Now, remember I talked about the whole carbohydrates or the complex carbohydrates, and I mentioned the vegetables. Now, when I say the vegetables, I mean all of the vegetables. They're all good. And it's best to eat a variety of them every day, but eating vegetables is really, really good. And you want to eat them as close to their natural presentation as possible. You don't want to boil them and denature them. You don't want to fry them so much that they're all of the nutrients have been boiled out of them or cooked out of them. You want to just scorch them or stir fry them or what, but not wanting to digress and get off into how to prepare them, just giving you a list here. So the vegetables, all of them are very, very good. You want to eat them every day. The whole fruits like apples, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, all of the berries, eating the whole fruits. Now remember the word here, the key word is whole fruit. You don't want to shave the skin off the apple. You actually want to eat the skin off the apple. Because when you're doing that, you're getting rid of the fiber and much of the nutrients that are in the apples. Much of the nutrients of the fruits are going to be in the skins. Another group would be the legumes, like your lentils, your kidney beans, your peas, those types of foods. Those are legumes. And then your nuts, the almonds, the walnuts, Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pistachio nuts, all of the nuts are very, very good. Now, you may, if you heard and were paying attention, you may be aware that I didn't say peanuts. Well, peanuts aren't really classified as a nut. They're actually classified in the groups of legumes, say like kidney beans. So they're really not a nut. And then we go into the seeds, the chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. Those are very good. And then the grains, the whole grains. Now, when I say that, you want to be careful if you're eating grains, you want to choose grains that are truly whole grains, like in pure whole oats, quinoa, brown rice. Those are the types of grains you're wanting. Now that we've touched a bit on the good, let's talk about the bad carbs, right? The bad carbs are going to be the simple ones. Bad carbs are going to be those ones that instead of eating apples, you're drinking apple juice. See, instead of taking it as a whole food, it's refined now. Instead of eating a whole grain, you're eating a bleached grain. So instead of eating the whole grain bread, you're eating the white bread, which has been totally bleached out. Or instead of eating the brown rice, you're eating the white rice, which has been bleached and denatured. So you understand what I'm saying here. Those are the simple ones. So look, when you're looking at carbohydrates and they're in a processed food, they're in a boxed food, they're in a canned food, a bagged food, then you've got to be very, very judicious, and you've got to read the labels there, because those are going to be simple carbs. They're going to be very, very high in sugar now. All right. So now we're looking at another myth with that healthy food is more expensive. So that's an objection that I hear many, many times from individuals when we have a discussion about changing their diets and their food intakes. Well, you know, doc, it's great. You know, I'd love to be able to do that, but I really can't afford it. Well, I admit that this one is a little tricky, and it depends on how you look at cost. Really, it depends on how you're looking at, because when you're considering the overall cost of your health, it becomes clearer that processed foods are really more expensive, because what's going on now is that even though they may be cheaper in the beginning, if you're continuing to eat them over and over and over again, it's damaging your health, and then it's introducing a disease or a condition for which now you're going to have to be spending much, much more money on trying to regain your health. and whatnot. So, filling your cart with fresh produce versus the cheap frozen or boxed meals, it can create a difference in your weekly grocery budget, I admit. However, the few bucks that you're saving by cutting costs and buying those foods is actually costing you more in the long run, because now, as I said a few moments ago, you're going to have to take that money and try to regain your health. You have to understand that what you use to fuel your body determines how efficiently you're going to burn that energy. See? So the cheaper the fuel, the greater the stress it is on the body, and the more damage it results in the body as well. And some of the things that happen, when you're eating the cheaper foods, you start to feel sluggish, you're fatigued all day, and you're treating conditions that are now associated with being overrun with sugars, and it does affect your bottom line. Uh, when you look at type 2 diabetes, it's totally and wholly a created condition. It's created by the cheap foods that people have eaten prior to that, thinking that they're saving a buck here and they're saving a buck there. Well, they're not. And now their body has been damaged, and now they're spending money on the medications, on the drugs, on the altered lifestyle. And when you have the diabetic scenario in the body, that leads to a myriad of other types of diseases as well. And had they just spent a little more money on whole foods, on quality foods, they wouldn't be spending their time and affecting their life on now trying to maintain their diabetes, which is ridiculous. And anyway, what you want to do is you want to spend a little more money on the healthier foods, and it's going to save you. I promise you, it will save you money on healthcare costs. There's countless reports that have found that how we eat really does truly impact our health. It's no longer, you are what you eat. People need that proof. They need to see that, I guess. So that's lended to many, many research products that have been, or research studies that have been done that have had to show and to prove that if you just spend a little more on healthy food, you can really drastically reduce your healthcare costs over time. That's the bottom line. So look, I understand that for many this is something new, and it's really difficult. So what I want to do is I want to give you a few tips here for eating healthy on a budget. We all live in the same world. So some of the things that you can do that will help keep your grocery bill down while you're eating healthier. First, you can ask yourself, well, what's the most expensive thing that I buy? What is it? For many, the answer is either going to be meat or it's going to be dairy. That's going to be the most expensive commodity or food product that you're going to be buying. So by purchasing less of these items, you can go ahead and reduce the amount of money that you're spending, and that's also going to contribute to a healthier diet overall. See, because you can start to mix up these foods and choose other proteins instead of just getting your protein from milk or from meats, right? So if you're worried about the proteins, you can have beans, you can have quinoa, you can have eggs. Those are cheaper than the meat products. You can swap out some of your meat-heavy meals, with some plant-based alternatives. And you can fill your instead of filling your pantry with the cookies and the chips, you can reallocate that money and you can spend it on better quality foods like the meats and the dairies as well. So you've got to look at the whole and not just one thing. Look for seasonal or for local produce when you're shopping. I guarantee you're going to be spending a lot of money on out of season produce. So try to look at the things that are fresh, try to get the things that are in season, and try to get things that are locally grown in that. That means you're going to have to alter your diet slightly according to the season that you find yourself in, I admit. And you can also shop at these discounted stores for produce. I mean, you know, you've got Trader Joe's, you've got Publix in some areas, you've got all these Whole Foods. There's a lot of different choices now. And even these other foods, these Save-A-Lot stores and whatnot, you will be surprised at the quality of the food. At the same time, getting good quality, it's at a discounted amount. But look, when you buy the food, try to get it as fresh as possible. Try to eat it quickly, because the fresher it is, the cheaper it is. If it's been you know, if you're buying a lot of food to freeze in the freezer, then, you know, of course you're going to be spending a lot more money at a single shopping thing. So try to just get a little bit and try to shop a little bit more frequently. So that means that, as I said, you're going to have to alter your diet and reassess and reevaluate things here. But when you do that, you'll find that your produce has a slightly shorter storage time. And that just means that you're just going to have to prepare your foods in advance, perhaps, and you're going to have to consume them a little more quickly or sooner. And that's really, really good, because the fresher the food is, regardless of what food source it is, it's going to have a greater nutritional value for you as well. And then when you do that too, you're actually going to find that you're going to reduce your food waste. Now, you know, if you find when you sit and reevaluate what you've been doing, you may be surprised to find out how constantly you're throwing food away. You know, you're getting tired of eating the same thing and the same thing, you know, the leftovers, and then on the third day, you just get tired of eating the leftover you had the previous day, and you throw out good food. That's because you bought too much initially. So cut back on the expense there, cut back on the amount that you're doing, and you'll find out that the food isn't going bad. It's not getting a chance to go bad, because you're eating it before it does. See? So you may be simply buying too much and making too much in the early goings, and by doing that, you know, you're wasting a lot of money. So, you know, that's something you want to sit down and evaluate, each and every one of you, simply. So with that, we move on to myth number 4. And this is a big one here, that gluten-free is the way to go. Well, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. And the fad of going gluten-free has really exploded recently, you know. And the fact is, really only about 1% of the population has a genetic condition called celiac disease. Now, people with this condition certainly have to be very, very careful if they're ingesting foods that have gluten in it. Now, the only way to determine a truly gluten allergy or sensitive problem is with testing. And you know, there's a lot of different tests out there. They do the pin tests, where they may poke a person's back a little bit and draw some blood, and the all-cat tests and whatnot. Well, I've got to tell you from my experience, the most accurate of all the food allergy or food sensitivity tests out there, in my clinical experience, I found is the FIT test. And if any of you are wanting some additional information on that, I would say please just contact our office. We'll be more than happy to share that with you. Now, getting back to the people with celiac disease, there are people with the celiac disease, and I understand they need to ditch the gluten. And but in the same breath, I want to tell you, it's not necessary for the rest of us. However, if you do suspect that gluten is causing you this discomfort, then you might consider trying an elimination diet. Yeah, just try the elimination diet. And if you want more information on that, you are more than welcome to visit our website or our YouTube channel. We may have, I did a presentation on the elimination diet, which you can do easily at home. And you can just, as the title indicates, you just simply take certain foods, you eliminate them from your diet for a period of time. You monitor your symptoms, see if you get better without them in your diet, or worse without them in your diet, or if there's no change at all. And then you simply reintroduce them into your diet and see if it makes a difference. That's the elimination diet. You can do that at home, in the comfort of your own home, and it's not going to cost you a cent. But when you do that, you will definitely know if the gluten-free foods are making, if they are healthier for you, or the gluten foods are making you sicker, or whatever it might be. Because in fact, there are some gluten substitutes that will actually make the situation worse, and they may increase your caloric content, and will make you heavier, will make you fatter, will make you gain weight. So that's something that, and if you're confused on this issue, as always, we invite you to contact us. We'll be more than happy to speak with you and help you through that, okay? Another myth is that low-fat foods are better for you. Boy, I can remember when this first started back in the 70s. They were telling people that if you eat fat, you're going to get fat. That's what was the problem. And there's never been anything that's further from the truth than that lie that I just shared with you. You will not get fat if you eat fat. Now, you have to understand that I'm talking about real fat, the God-made fat. I'm not talking about the trans fats or the hydrogenated oils, these fats that man has made. That's not what we're talking about. So getting back to this lie, that what they did was they told people that you would get fat if you ate fat, so they created all these low-fat, no-fat foods. And people have been buying them ever since. So all I need to say is look around you and see if it's been working. That's it. Say, well, if you have, if you've looked around you when you go to the grocery store or walk in the mall or whatever, what you're seeing is confirming what I said. It's not working. Okay. So when you're trying to watch your weight, the low fat option, they told you was the way to go. Unfortunately, your good intention actually will leave you worse off than what you started with. Low fat is actually synonymous with loaded with salt and cheap carbohydrates. You can't take something out without putting something back in. So they've chemically extracted the fat from the food, and what they've done is they've loaded that same food now with a cheap salt and or cheap carbohydrates, and the cheap carbohydrates are going to make it more palatable. It's going to make it sweeter or creamier tasting. And as you'll remember, if there's a high intake of carbs, and the carbs aren't being burned for fuel, they're going to be stored in your body as fat. So that's what's going on. Frankly, you're better off getting the full fat version of whatever it is that you're eating. So when it comes to milk, there is no herd of cattle out there that produce 2% or 1% or fat-free, or there is no cow that does that. All of the milk that they produce, if you're drinking dairy, if you're drinking milk, you want to go with the whole kit and caboodle, the full fat milk. That's it. And you just drink less of it. That's all. I mean, if that's what you're wanting to do, but go with whole fat, and do the same thing with the cottage cheese, with the cheeses, with anything that no fat, low fat. You just put it down and go for the version where you get all of it. All right. And then the next one, now that we're talking about that, is yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. Well, no, it isn't. This is kind of a tricky one here. It is true if, and here's the if the yogurt that you're eating contains live active cultures. However, I'm here to tell you that probably 99% of the yogurts that most people buy out there do not have live active cultures. They're eating a yogurt that's inert, that's dead, that's denatured, that is doing nothing at all for them except making the seller some money. And you know, you got this movie star or this TV celebrity on there espousing that he or she's eating this, and they make these guarantees that they're going to do this or do that. And I'm telling you that that is not the truth. Unfortunately, most of the yogurt products, they're loaded with sugar. That's what they have. And when you're eating it, pursuing good health, actually it's doing just the opposite. It's doing more harm than good. In fact, the added sugars that are in these yogurts actually promotes an unhealthy gut bacterial growth. And here you are, you're being told that, you know, eat yogurt to add the good bacteria, probiotics into your gut, and you're doing that, and that's a bunch of baloney, because you're eating the sugar. The sugar is feeding the bad bacteria and the fungus, which is called candidiasis, candidus yeast, and it's making it stronger and stronger and stronger. And now you're overwhelmed with all of these additional symptoms, and you're wondering, what in the world is going on? I'm spending my money. I'm doing what I've been told to do on the internet and on the TV, and I'm eating this stuff, and I'm worse off than ever before. Well, that's because you've followed a myth. So if you're going to eat yogurt, what you want to do is make certain that when you pick up the container, you look on the label and are assured that this yogurt has live active cultures in it, okay? And the one in particular is the Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's the bacteria you want to look for if you're eating, just generally eating yogurt. Now, there's different types of bacillus or bacterias, depending upon whether you're eating like a Greek style yogurt or a Bulgarian yogurt or a goat milk yogurt, whatever. There's different types. I don't want you, though, even with eating the yogurt, to think that you're getting everything your body needs. I'm gonna take a chance here and just take a detour for a moment. Your gut is your second immune system. That is a tremendous part of the immune system. In the gut, you have the small intestines, the ascending, the transverse, the descending, the large intestines. You have different compartments. I'm here to tell you, if you have never heard this before, that in your gut, in every segment or portion of your gut, you have different bacteria. You don't have Lactobacillus acidophilus in all of the intestine. It is focused in one area of the digestive tract. You're going to have a bifidus in another area of the digestive tract. You're having a Streptococcus bifidus in another area. So the point I'm trying to make is, you need specific types of probiotics in specific areas of your digestive tract in order to get the health that these folks are promising you. And you're not going to get it by eating yogurt. It just isn't going to happen. And again, I know that I've said a lot that you may not be familiar with. If you're interested in learning more, please contact our office and we will direct your path so that you can take the proper steps. So again, you want to look at your yogurt. If you're eating yogurts, you want to make sure that it has live active cultures. And if it doesn't have it on the label, then stop buying it, because what you're basically doing is you're eating a dessert that's been disguised as a healthy food option. That's what you're doing. Don't do it anymore. Now, another myth, and this one also came out, I think, in the 70s, if I remember correctly. And it was stating that egg yolks raise your cholesterol. And boy, did they run with this one. Because when they did this, then they opened up this door and they had egg beaters, and then they had the egg whites only without the yolks and all of this other stuff, as if, you know, what the good Lord created was bad now for you. Oh, what kind of a God do we have if he's doing this? You know, and he's doing to this what he said was his greatest of all creations, created in his own image, which was mankind. Now he's slipping underneath the rug here, these eggs, and having man eat eggs, which was killing them, which was increasing their cholesterol. Heaven forbid. So anyway, what they did was they had a market here for statin drugs, of which, oh, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm doing another one about cholesterol, another webinar, and if you want to sign up for that one, because I'm about to expose a lot of fallacy with that one. Anyway, before we go there, let's talk about the egg yolks raising your cholesterol. And I apologize for getting on a rabbit trail here, because there's been a lot of debate about the health of the eggs, over the years. And I want to tell you the verdict is in unequivocally, undeniably. It's this: eggs are healthy. Eggs are healthy. Eat them every day, eat them any day, eat them anyway, eat them as many as you want, but eat them, if you're gonna fry them in that, don't fry them in the vegetable oil, don't fry them in the canola oil, peanut oil, safflower, sunflower. Use coconut oil, use avocado oil, use olive oil. What else is there? My goodness. Just use it, or you can even use organic whole butter. Yeah, go for it. It's true that egg yolks contain, listen, this is dietary cholesterol. They do. But research has proven that the dietary cholesterol has nothing to do with your blood cholesterol levels. Nothing to do with it. See? If your cholesterol is out of sync, you see your body, no, I better stop. Anyway, the fact that I'm stating here is that the dietary cholesterol in the eggs has nothing to do with the blood cholesterol levels in your body. Eggs are actually one of the healthiest foods that you can eat. Really, it's called it's called the perfect universal food by many scientists, many writers. It's one of the healthiest foods you can eat. It's the perfect food. And one egg has only about 75 calories, but 7 grams of a really high quality protein, along with iron, vitamins, minerals, carotenoids. So what you want to do is this: if you're eating eggs, skip that egg white only breakfast. And when you go to the restaurant, you see the egg white only omelets. Man, pass that by. Just don't even bother with it. Indulge in the whole thing, the yolk and the white as well. You're going to have a much tastier omelet. You're going to have a much healthier body as a result of it. Go with it, okay? And don't even worry about it increasing your cholesterol level. It doesn't do it. Oh, and then they were telling you, yeah, go ahead, the lecithin. I'm sorry, I have to move on. Anyway, let's go to myth number 8. Organic produce is more nutritious. Now, this one is going to be a shocker for a lot of people. I know when I say this to my folks that eat only organic, it causes them to gasp. But there's now, when we stop and think about it, then you're going to go, now I see. Okay? Trust me with this one. Organic produce is more nutritious. That's what they do to sell organic food. That's the line. Well, it's much more nutritious than, non-organic. No, it isn't. Listen, here's the truth when you buy organic. You're going to spend the extra buck on organic fruits. You're going to spend more money on organic vegetables. And what that's going to do when you buy is you're going to be buying a cleaner food. It's going to help you to avoid or dodge, to a large extent, a lot of the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungicides, all of those sides that they put on it. Understand that most of those vegetables that you get, or the fruits that you buy, if they're organic, they're going to be smaller than their non-organic counterpart. But you're doing it not because yours is more nutritious, it has more nutritional value, but you're buying it because it doesn't have the pesticides, the herbicides, and the fungicides. Now, listen, you can wash your fruits and veggies. Certainly you can, but you have to also understand that with many of these, because of the distance that they've had to travel, and the fragile nature of the particular fruit or vegetable that you're eating, a lot of those pesticides and herbicides and fungicides have permeated. They have been absorbed into the vegetable or the fruit itself. So regardless of how much you wash it, you're still going to get it because that pesticide is inside the fruit or vegetable now. See, so again, that's a decision you have to make, and you have to weigh, the pros and cons in here, right? Um, so again, it's not more nutritious, but it is less chemicalized than its counterpart. Now, I have to say this in addition, if it's a GMO food, well, yes, that's a frankenfood. That's a food substitute. That's something that's been created and altered by man, a GMO food, right? So you don't want that. But if it's a conventionally grown food, that's a food that's been grown for all intents and purposes the way, all the seeds are planted, whether it's an organic or inorganic seed or conventionally grown, it's the same seed, but when it starts to grow, that particular one that's conventionally grown may have, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungicides on them, okay? So if you're concerned about the quality of your produce, but you can't afford the price of organic, well, this is what you might consider. Get locally grown or seasonal items. See, the chances are if they're locally grown, then you have to think they don't have to travel as far to get to you, because the further they have to travel, the further the food has to travel. Like if it's grown in California and it has to be shipped to you, or grown in Florida and be shipped to you, the further away it's shipped, the more chemicals are going to be used to retard its spoilage. See, so what you want to try to do is to go to your farmer's market, and you're going to be stimulating your own economy. You're going to be getting foods that are fresh and foods that aren't chemicalized, and let your grower know that, hey, this is the deal. You want to be assured that the crops that they're bringing to you haven't been chemicalized. And if they have, you want to know what they are so that you can take the necessary action of cleaning them. See, that's the deal you want to make, the conversation you want to have. And look, if you can't get it fresh and it's in the season where that isn't happening, then try to buy it frozen, because what they basically do is rinse the food. They may bleach it a little bit. I can't make a sweeping generalization and say that all of them are clean, but for the most part, get it frozen, and then when you take it out of the bag, wash it yourself and thaw it, and then you can go ahead and have it that way. Okay, so let's move on then to myth number 9. It's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. They called it grazing. Oh yeah, I don't eat like 3 big meals, but I graze. I just eat a little bit at a time. There were the claims that eating the small meals, the frequent meals throughout the day was going to boost your metabolism. That's a fallacy. That's a myth. It doesn't do that at all. I'm sorry to say that there's really no evidence to back up that myth or that claim at all. The truth is this: whether you're eating 2 or 3 meals a day, or you're eating, the larger meals, or you're eating 5 to 6 smaller meals, the outcome has the same effect on your metabolism, the same effect. It's called into work, it's working, and that's it. Whether it's a big job to do infrequently or a small job to do more frequently, it's going to stimulate your metabolism. Okay, eating small meals throughout the day may help. It'll help to curb your appetite, so you don't sit down and eat a meal in a state of starvation, thereby overeating and pushing a lot of foods in. It's gonna, it'll help to prevent that excessive hunger, but actually the benefits are going to stop there. So look, if you want to eat 3 meals, eat 3 meals. Make sure they're balanced. Eat them slow, chew your food good, and enjoy the time with the person across the table from you. Okay. Or if you're going to eat the frequent, the smaller meals, just don't fool yourself or convince yourself that you're doing yourself a favor by doing so. You're really not. You're getting it. What you're doing is preventing hunger pangs, and you're preventing yourself from perhaps overeating if that's a challenge that you've been faced with. But that's about it. Now, another myth is this: people who work out need extra protein. Well, that may be true for my Olympic, my professional athletes, my elite athletes, but the average person, no, you don't really need to consume additional protein when you're working out. Most of us, most of us already are consuming more than really what a lot of the research is recommending. And that's all you need to know. Just make sure that you're getting protein each and every day. That's what you need to do. Well, the question then is, how much protein do I need? Well, I don't want to get into statistics, because it's just another equation that we know for a moment and then we forget. Say, and just remember this: protein, just like your carbohydrate and your fat, it's a macronutrient. And I'll give you one of the easiest ways to figure out if you're getting enough protein. Okay, so what I want you to do is to picture in front of you an empty dinner plate. Now, it can be the smaller dinner plate, or, well, what do we call them? Some people call them supper plates. Some people call them dinner plates, okay? And some people call it lunch. Some people call it dinner. So, look, just so we're clear, either the smaller plate or the larger plate, I don't care. The plate size has nothing to do with it. But what you want to do is this: when it comes to protein, now the protein, remember, it's going to be your meats, like your chicken, your turkey, your fish, your beef. Those are proteins. Some beans are going to be proteins. The dark beans, they're going to be proteins. So if you're eating a protein, what you can do is make a fist. Just make a fist. Yeah, I know. Just follow with me. Make that fist, and then put your fist on your imaginary plate. All right. It'll take up maybe about a third of the plate that you've imagined, if it's one of the smaller plates, or it's going to take up maybe about 1 or 2/5 of the larger plate. In either event, now see how large a space is taken up by your clenched fist. Lift it up off the plate, and now in its place, put a piece of chicken, put a piece of steak, put some eggs, put some beans, whatever. Fill that space with a protein. And that's basically about how much protein you need per meal. Per meal. That's it. If you're eating a plated meal, that's how much protein you need in that meal in comparison to the carbohydrates and the fats you're going to be eating. Real simple. It really is that simple. Well, hey, doc, I'm not going to eat a full meal. I'm going to eat a sandwich. Okay, I got you. So make the fist and put it on a piece of bun or the bread or whatever. That's about how big the piece of meat should be. So when we're talking about like a ribeye, I love ribeye steak. I mean, oh my goodness. That and brisket. Oh my God, goodness gracious. I love it. Anyway, you don't need the 10-ounce ribeye. You don't need the 12-ounce ribeye. You can get it, eat half of it, take the other half home. About 6 ounces of ribeye is a great amount of protein if you're having a steak dinner. 6 ounces, 8 ounces if you want to splurge, and hopefully some of those ounces of that ribeye are that fat. Oh my goodness. And if you get the fat, chew it up. Don't cut it off. Don't cut it off. No, no, no. Dice it up, chew it up, suck on it, savor it, and then chew it and swallow it. It's really, really good for you. Trust me. But that's what you want to do when it comes to your protein. That's about how much. Forget how many grams of proteins you need and what percentage of protein. Just I like to keep it really, really simple. Make the fist, fill it with the protein, and you got it. Every meal, every plate, just do it that way. And then after you've done it for a period of time, you know, you won't have to do it again. So again, you don't have to go ounce for ounce. You just want to go ahead and go with that size. But if you are interested, you know, you can the grams, if you're interested in that, 1 ounce of protein. See, it's like you can have an ounce of meat, the ounce of protein, the seafood, the cooked beans, the eggs, peanut butter. That's a protein, but you want to get a good peanut butter. Like I showed on this slide, it doesn't have, it's not, you know, inundated with the salts and with the sugars. You know, it's more like a raw peanut butter. It's not going to spread as nicely. It's not going to be smooth, and it's not going to be as appealing. It's going to tear up your piece of bread, I promise you, because it doesn't spread easily, but it's going to be worth it. And you can go ahead for the nuts as well. You can see that it's gonna benefit you quite a bit there with the proteins. Okay, so now let's go back, if I may, and we'll do the myth countdown, because I know I covered a lot of information. And again, if you do have any questions, remember, I'm here to help you. So you can call us, you can email us. The number is 217-431-2010. That's the office number. The email address would be office@pro-activewellness.com. Again, that's office@pro, followed by a hyphen, then activewellness.com. Or you can visit our website, and we have our email address there. You can click on it, you know, and then email your questions or call us with your questions. I'm here to help you out. So anyway, in our myth, we covered that all calories are created equal. No, they're not. They're not all equal. Remember now the different values. If you're eating fats, that's going to be 9 calories. If it's alcohol, like a wine or a mixed drink, those are sugars. That's going to be 7. If you're eating proteins or carbohydrates, those are 4. See, the fibers, it's 1.5. So that's how it breaks down. But, you know, you don't want to count calories. Honest to goodness, you really don't want to do that. That's bondage. You don't want to do it. You just want to eat a balanced meal, a healthy meal, and make quality choices using whole foods primarily. Okay? Another myth was that carbs made you fat. No, carbs don't make you fat. It's overeating. It's eating a lot of carbs. That's what's going to make you fat. And eating the cheap carbs, right? The sugars, the diet drinks, the fruit drinks, the sodas, the yogurts that don't have the active bacteria in them. Those are cheap carbs. Man, if you're eating that stuff, you're going to get fat. That's the way it is. Okay. And another myth, that healthy food is more expensive. No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. You just have to become a wiser shopper. That's what you want to do. You want to make quality decisions. Okay. And Whole Foods, let me put it this way. If you get a coupon in the paper for a food, it's usually a processed, a bagged, a boxed food, right? Right. You don't get it, you know, buy one whole chicken, get the next whole chicken free or whatever. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So again, if it's a coupon food, it's usually a food substitute or a cheap carbohydrate. I'll put it that way. Then another one was the gluten-free is the way to go. Nope, 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 nope. Now look, if you have celiac disease, and if you do have it, you know, and you want to get rid of it, give us a call. We may be able to help you out. But less than 1% of the population is truly challenged with celiac disease. And for the rest of us, I mean, eat the gluten-rich foods. It's not going to hurt you at all. Another one, low-fat foods are better for you because if you eat fat, you get fat. Baloney, that's not true. Low-fat foods are not better for you. They are man-made, man-altered, and they're more damaging to your body. So stay away from them. Get the whole thing. You want to get your money's worth, right? So get the whole thing. Yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. Nope, nope, nope. Only if it has active bacteria. You got to read the label. If it's not on the label, then you're eating a dessert. That's what you're doing, and you're just hurting yourself in the long run. Egg yolks raise your cholesterol. No, they don't. So look, eat the whole thing. Eat the white, eat the yolk, enjoy yourself, eat as many as you want. But remember how I told you how to prepare them. You'll be safe. Dice them up, boil them, put them in your salads. I mean, oh my gosh, enjoy the eggs. Another one was organic produce is more nutritious. No, no, no. It is if you're comparing it to a GMO food, but not if you're comparing it to a conventionally grown food. Remember, the difference is the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungicides, the chemicals on that food. That's the difference. As far as nutritional value, no, honestly, there's not a big disparity between the two. So be, again, a knowledgeable consumer, a wise consumer. Read the labels and make your decisions based on that, all right? Another myth that we covered was it's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. No, no difference. It doesn't boost your metabolism. You're not going to burn more fat. You're not going to burn more calories by doing so. It just isn't true. So if you go back to eating dinner with your family, if you're eating 3 meals, eat the 3 meals, sit down at the table, enjoy the company of your family. Reintroduce yourself to one another. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on in your world, right? Okay, and then another myth was that people who work out need extra protein. Nope, they don't need extra protein unless you are an Olympian, unless you are an elite athlete, unless you are a professional athlete, and your body is what you make your living by. Then and your living is requires a lot of stress in your body. You don't need extra protein. Okay, and here's some final tips for you. Eating healthy really doesn't have to be complicated. It's really possible. I want you to know that you can do it, and it's possible on any budget. Look, don't use your budget as an excuse where you got to cut costs and cut costs. And if you cut costs when it comes to your health, you're going to end up paying for it in years to come. I promise you. I promise you that you can't break those laws when it comes to your body. If you don't take care of it today, you're going to spend all of the money you thought you saved later on trying to get it back. And unfortunately, for those people in those situations, they rarely ever get it back. Okay? And listen, when you're planning a trip or when you're going shopping, avoid clipping the coupons. Like I said, they're typically only offered for the processed items. So you're not going to be saving money. You're just going to be accelerating your undoing as far as your health is concerned if you continue to eat those types of foods. And then look, you want to take an inventory of what you already have in your kitchen before you go shopping, right? Because what you want to do is you want to avoid overbuying something that's going to spoil, something that you're going to have to throw away, something that you're going to purchase too much of, only ending up throwing out because you're sick of eating it every day. Don't do that. Go through your house, see what's in the kitchen, see what you have in your cabinets, because if you do that, that's going to lead to food waste and money that's not well spent. Okay? Also, when you do go shopping, as I'm sure you've heard before, shop the perimeter of the store. Go on the outside. That's where the healthier items are. That's where they live. That's where the fresh foods are. That's where the foods are that are alive. And that if you don't eat them within a certain period of time, they're going to spoil, they're going to rot. But you want to do so before they do. Because in the center of the store, that's where you're going to find the boxed foods, the processed foods. Those are the foods, those are the I shouldn't say foods because they're not foods. Those are the substances that should be avoided. All right. And then another thing, hey, look, try some new recipes or ways of cooking your favorite foods. Spice it up, change it up. Don't just do it the same way over and over and over again. Put some variety in there. Your vegetables, oh my goodness, they are so versatile. They can be prepared so many, many different ways. And when you add them to a piece of meat, prepared a different way, they make the meat taste differently too. It's just exciting. And again, if in your town, look, do your internet searching and look for your in-season produce. Look and see if they have co-ops that are available. Look and see where your local farmers markets are and when they're going to start and how long they go. Introduce yourself to these individuals. Let them know what you're the buyer, they're the seller. Let them know what kind of a product you're wanting to buy. And if they want to have a robust business, then they're going to present to you a product that you're looking to purchase. They're going to make their product purchasable by you. Okay, so look for them thing. And we're coming into the season now. See, the spring, we're coming into the spring, into the summer. So start doing your research now. And you want to also replace those high fat proteins, maybe with plant-based options. Uh, if you're buying cheap meats, with a lot of fat and whatnot, and it's a bad fat, then maybe you want to start just exchanging your proteins for some beans and quinoa and the cottage cheese and whatever. But you want to look for different options out there. This is a great time to do so. So I hope you'll do that, because I want you to know that better health is possible. You've been fearfully, you've been wonderfully made. And when you put good stuff in the body, it's going to take it and you're going to end up with a gooder body. It's really that simple. You'll become a better, higher quality individual. You're going to enjoy your activities of daily living a whole lot more. Your downtime is going to be nil, if any. You're not going to be succumbing to the sicknesses, to the diseases that are so rampant around you. And when people come and they see you that haven't seen you in a while, my God, Betty, my gosh, Fred, you look so good. You look so young. What have you been doing? And one of the things you can say is, I've been eating better. That's what I've been doing. So look, I want to thank you for joining me in this presentation. Again, if you do have any questions, make sure you contact us. And until the next one, and as always, God bless.